So today I wanted to share something that had been bothering me for quite some time and how I dealt with that. Now, first things first, um, for a few weeks, say for a month maybe, I'd been feeling very sad, especially very sad in the weekends. I have office 5 days a week, and out of that, I have offs on Saturday and Sunday. So usually, no, naturally, people do feel very happy about their weekends, and they feel very happy even if they have to do nothing. Right? If people just get to sleep in the weekends, it's a heavenly experience altogether. However, in my case, I was not feeling very happy about it. I was getting drowned in my thoughts, and I thought about it for quite some time. And it just hit me that maybe I was thinking very much, very much about the future. About the future, I just kind of overanalyze things sometimes, and it kind of disturbs my thought process. So for that moment, I did not have a solution. I was like, my brain is fucked, and I could not do anything about it. So I kind of, when those kind of things happen to me, I just stay still, and sometimes I try to journal. I try to distract my mind, but this time it was not working. It was not working at all. So I was like, what the fuck is happening? So eventually there was a very simple solution to it that, obviously did not feel very natural at the point of time. However, what I've realized is when you're thinking very much about everything, sometimes it's a very good decision to take a break from those thoughts, from whatever you are doing. Like maybe your actions should be diverted towards something that is maybe not going towards progress, but geared more towards healing yourself. But the fact about me was, whenever I did those kind of actions, I used to feel very guilty about it. So let's say I watched a movie, and after that I would feel very guilty that I watched a movie and I wasted my time. It's not that I'm very, I am a CEO of a company or anything of that sorts, but I have this feeling that maybe I should not waste my time. Maybe I should read books instead of just doom scrolling through my social media. However, I'm very obsessive sometimes, and that kind of gets into your mind, that kind of gets into your heart as well, and it just made me feel very overwhelmed by the things that were happening in my life. So my mind was kind of, losing that clarity about what I was doing eventually. Now, to be honest, the life that I'm living right now, the work that I'm doing, right, was something I aspired as a student in college, was something I dreamed about. And now that I have it all, it just did not make sense that I would ever feel like this, because I felt very wrong now at the point of time. It just did not make sense. I just felt that I could not think like that. I shouldn't feel like that. But, sometimes you just can't, just can't push your emotions with logic. It just does not make sense. Like, it might make sense with your mind, but with respect to your emotions, it just creates more confusion. So in those moments, I believe you should do what your emotions tell you. I'm not saying that take impulsive actions based on your emotions and do something which is very wrong, something very harmful towards you or to some other person. Saying with respect to your emotions, like sometimes if you feel good about doing something, do it. Maybe it's not wrong to enjoy sometimes. Maybe it's not wrong to, take a day off. Maybe it's not wrong to feel lazy sometimes. And this was some things that I just could not do for quite some time. And whenever I think about it, I kind of feel guilty. At that point of time, whenever I was supposedly enjoying, it would make me feel guilty about that fact. Right, my mind would be somewhere else when I was enjoying, and after the moment was over, it would come back at me, and it would just hit me that no, I maybe should not have done that. Maybe I should have taken my time somewhere else. But since I was doing it for quite some time, and maybe God was observing me, and He was like, this guy has to experience this shit himself. And I did. I did go through a lot of pain recently. It it was a painful experience, to be honest. However, what I discovered after that, it was not very groundbreaking. It was not something like Newton discovered gravity. It was very simple. Just sometimes live in the moment. Sometimes go out with your friends, have fun, and life, life is not going to be very difficult, right? And the world is going to be the same even after you decide to take a day off, or to be lazy, or to just take care of yourself or your body, or anything that triggers your happiness instead of your sadness. So I thought about it for quite some time, and it triggered me yesterday, which is why I created this. I already had this account in YouTube. However, I started recording since then, and today I'm sharing my experience. So yeah, for quite some time during weekends, I would just stay inside my room. I would read books, I would watch a movie, but I would not go out, right? And my friends would invite me, like, let's go out, let's go there. I would just, you know, turn them down straight away, straight no's. I would not explain why I'm saying no sometimes, I would just say no. So it was that kind of person that did not care about other people's emotions, because I was myself not caring about my emotions at that point of time. So I was like, why the fuck would I care about them anyways, right? But it occurred to me that maybe in the process of, becoming so absorbed about the future, I was losing myself. I was losing my empathy towards other people, towards myself, in fact. And yeah, I was doing well in my work, I was doing well in my life, and I was polishing myself up. I gave time to myself. I thought I was giving. However, most of my time was going towards my brain and not my heart, right? And at that point of time, I realized that, it's also thinking about your heart is important. Maybe give that energy that you are giving to your brain, that you're supplying to your brain, to your heart as well. Because eventually, if you're heartbroken, nothing makes sense. your brain can't help you in that. Your logic just breaks down. And it is something I realized, and it makes me feel very happy that I realized it soon enough. I don't know if it's gonna change in future, but I hope not. And even if it does, I believe uh, this experience would have taught me better to have handle it better in future. In that case, right? So yeah, and I'm not saying that what I'm saying is universally true, or it may work for everyone. But in my case, the current realization that I had was, do not think too much about things that are not in your control, right? What is in your control is your present, the current moment that you have, and the future, the past, those situations which you can just, imagine, visualize, but you have no reach over, are out of your control. And it's human tendency to, control everything, to have everything in control. However, when you try to stay in control of a situation which you can't, it just stresses you out, and it fucks your mind and your emotions, of course. So sometimes slowing down is the solution. Sometimes taking a break helps you better than medications. And yeah, I kind of thought about it. I I have a, I would not say a problem, but I have this thing about overthinking. I think a lot. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, to be honest. It helps me a lot with respect to uh, my thinking. That gets far ahead of situations, of people, or any circumstance that may occur. However, when you overthink a lot, it kind of, you kind of overanalyze your emotions as well, and make them more complicated than it is already. So in that case, it kind of, yeah, confuses you. However, I think what I need to learn is balance how I think a lot with respect to my emotions and the other aspects of life. So if I do that, I believe it would be better suited for my needs. Because eventually thinking is good, overthinking is not, right? So this is something I realized because today I went out after a very long time. I went to a religious place today, and I felt pretty good after I came back home. And just yesterday, yeah, just 12 hours ago, I was feeling very shitty. I was feeling like I'm stuck in a very dark place, and I'm just drowning in. It just didn't make sense. And I was talking to myself even then, trying to explain myself that everything happens for a reason. It's just that sometimes we cannot see the reason, or we need a person that can show us that reason in that case. However, when your emotions are just too much colored, uh, your logic will not help you discolor it, right? So today when I went outside, I felt rather good about myself. I felt content. I felt happy. I felt like I can continue again. So this was a small gratitude video for that. that maybe even after the worst times, I'm not saying something very bad happened to me, by the way. Like I will not term it as the worst time. However, the emotions that I was facing, it was making me feel so sad that it did feel pretty pretty awful. So in that case, I moved from that awful feeling to a positive one, to something that I enjoyed today. So I just wanted to share this moment as a reminder to myself that, yeah, even after a difficult moment, even after a difficult time, it is always possible to shift back instantly to a position like this, to a position of content, position of happiness, to a position of gratitude. So yeah, it's not very significant. However, it made a lot of sense after this thing happened. And sometimes until something bad hits you, it just feels like a very small thing. However, when the small things affect you so much that they turn into big things, then in that case you realize how important the small things are, that how significant they can be, how monumental the small things are, how they drive our decisions, how they drive our minds, how significantly they can affect our moods, our decisions, and most importantly, our emotions. It's very important to take care of our emotions, I would say, because eventually you might have the right mindset, you might have the right people in your life. However, if you're feeling like shit, you cannot you cannot do anything about it. You cannot do anything about yourself, the situation that you're in. You cannot turn that into a win-win situation at all. So I think emotion is a factor that drives your mind. It's like you have all the right equipments, your mind, you know, and the people that you need in life. However, if you don't have the engine of a car, it just would not run, right? It's very important. So emotions, keeping track of your emotions, and taking care of yourself without feeling guilty about it, doing things that you love, and spending time with yourself is also significantly important. So I just realized that, even though it's not a big thing that I realized, I'm not saying that I discovered gravity. I'm saying I discovered a new thing about myself, and I'm pretty happy. I'm pretty happy about it, right? So yeah, this was my realization, and I just wanted to share it with you all. So I don't know for sure. My voice might be clear or very audible, or because in the previous video it was not. So it's yeah. That was all from my side for today. And if something comes up, I will share that too. Thank you for listening.